been a really great day today. I did go in my office today, I'm not gonna lie, and almost started crying because it turned out pretty awesome for me. This is the way I pictured it 4 years ago, and it seems to be getting better every year. And now I got my whole Kiesler family working with me to make this even better. So that's really made it special. So I'm not going to talk a lot about my suicide experience. I have struggled with suicide my entire life. Up until a few years ago, my mom had no idea. My kids had no idea, but my kids, most of them have disowned me. I've made the best of my life. I have a new wife. She's pretty awesome, Miss Nicole. And I have an amazing best friend, Ashley, that's really helped out through this whole thing. Steve and Taylor are amazing people, and they really keep this place running. So, but I do want to announce that there will be 2 new groups starting in October. One is for families who have lost somebody to suicide.
Thank you.
To suicide. This is awkward. Anyway, I've had so many calls in the last year of people that have lost somebody to suicide. And the suicide group we have right now is people that struggle with suicide every day. And people like that who have lost somebody to suicide don't feel like they fit into that group. And it will be a public group, so I really encourage anybody that has suffered a loss from somebody from suicide to definitely try that group out. I think there's strength in numbers, of course, and there's another group that'll be starting, and that's just understanding suicide, and we'll get to understand that together. Because I've been fighting it my whole life, and I'm still struggling to understand it myself. So, yeah, this really touches me, all you people being here today. But there's so many people I want to thank. I think I'll leave that to Steve and Taylor, though. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Kiesler being one of the biggest suicide support areas for Itasca County, because that's my goal, is to help as many people as I possibly can who are struggling with suicide. So, and we got to start somewhere. So let's start it here. But thank you all for coming. Thank everybody in the Kiesler family. Thanks, Heather, for putting up with me today. And I'm going to hand it to Steve. He knows all that important stuff, so I'll hand it to him.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming today. I want to talk a second about shared values. Everybody here in the crowd, we all value something, and we all have something in common. We care about people. We care about people a lot. That's why we came together today to work on suicide prevention, to work on wellness, to bring the community together, to bring people together. Like every day up here at the Wellness Center, we don't come to work. We go to work helping people find mental health recovery and find a place in the community where they feel like they're part of being home. So I'd like to thank everyone for that. Just a big round of applause for yourselves, all right? Really appreciate it. because we have a purpose here. We have a really important in common purpose of helping people find mental health, help find the resources that they need when they need them. Time and time again, what I've heard from people coming up and talking to me about their life stories and about their situations where they've been impacted by mental health or when they've lost a loved one, it's come as a surprise. So oftentimes, the folks that we lose haven't accessed mental health services before, and they don't give any warnings. We don't know that it's going to happen, and why it's going to happen, and it's so tragic that the supports are available, but they might not know where the resources are. Maybe there's stigma attached to mental health, and they're afraid to access it, or someone might know about their situation, or they don't know who to talk to, or it's just tragic. And that's a part of what we're trying to accomplish here today is to break down that barrier, break down that stigma, bring people together, and create this sense of awareness that you can ask for help, help's available, and that we are people that care. We have those values, those shared values here at the Kiesler family at Northland Counseling Center, who you're not going to be judged. People aren't going to ask you questions that you don't want to answer. You're going to feel comfortable receiving those services, and we're going to make sure it's the services that you want in the recovery that you're seeking, not something that I might have in mind. It's person-centered, it's driven by what you need. And time and time again, I know there's a lot of consumers of services out here in the audience. It's all about you and about your recovery journey. So again, thanks everyone for coming. And I'm going to open it up to Taylor for a second. And she had a wonderful idea here just a few minutes ago, and she's going to, yeah, here you go.
I was trying to not come up here. I said, I've been grilling all day and I look sweaty, and Steve reminded me, you look like that every day, so don't worry about it.
Whoops.
So anyway, guess I look sweaty every day. No, thank you everyone for coming. Big thanks to Mike. This is the 4th annual walk, and it is the biggest and best turnout, so he's doing something right. And I don't know that a lot of you guys know this, but September is National Suicide Prevention Month. So that's pretty cool, and actually September 10th, today, is National Suicide Prevention Day. So that's why the walk happens on the 10th, which is pretty neat. I'm not sure if anyone knew that, but that's why. And I do think that we are all here because when we start talking about suicide, which nobody wanted to talk about, before, but now what we're learning is that when we start talking about suicide, we all, most of us know someone, a loved one, dealt with suicidal ideation maybe in our past, and so that's some connection through that discussion, and that brings us all together, and that is what National Suicide Prevention Month is about, and what this walk is about, is bringing us together, because we all have a story, or we have a loved one, a family, a friend who's been through that, and so thank you guys really for coming. And if anybody, it sounds like there were some speakers lined up, and unfortunately, things happened and they weren't able to make it, but if anybody wants to kind of share, you don't have to stand up here. You can sit where you're at, and maybe if you talk loud enough, we can hear you, or you're welcome to come up here and maybe talk about why, this walk is important to you.
Taylor, I know Mark's here. Mark didn't bail on us today. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mark, come on up. We'll do Mark first, right? Come on, Mark. I'm not sure what this is.
I have no idea.
It's for the camera back there.
Oh, okay. Okay, if you can hold it.
In case you don't know, my name is Mark. Every time I do a talk, I think of just trying to put it in a nutshell and cover what happened, what it was like, and what it's like now. I just shared my story a couple weeks ago over in the Gregor area at a retreat. And then again, coming up the 20th, I'm going to do the same thing. I think it's important to share that because when I growing up learning these 3 unwritten rules of don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel in reference to anything personal, it's devastating. And to break that cycle it was huge. later on when I was, 19, I believe. Yeah, because that's when I was sobered up. And that's when I just broke the cycle and did what I was supposed to do, got help, and just left the past behind. And I continue to try and leave it behind because it's not a place for me to be. I can learn from it, but it's important I don't spend any length of time there. So I just want to go on and grow and glow, as my friend puts it, from here on out, utilizing the resources I've been given. But anyway, I'd never seen a suicide, or not heard of a suicide until 93. I was just sobering up, and my second cousin, he was a Vietnam vet who I looked up to highly ever since childhood, because when I was 6 or 7, him and I spent a lot of time going to and from church and all that kind of stuff, doing activities and camps here and there. And I knew something was different, just like I knew with my family, something was different, but I couldn't pinpoint it growing up. I knew something was different. But growing up, you're 6, 7 years old, you're clueless in that sense. I was anyway. And Billy, my second cousin, that Vietnam vet, I knew something was different about him, but I didn't understand it. Because he was always uttering things, talking, mumbling things, and sometimes grabbing at things, and I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know what was wrong with him. But today I understand it. He came back in, 72 or 73, all mixed up like that, and I don't think he ever got the help he needed. But in 93 there, I spent the day with him and here in town doing some stuff. And he, I forget where we were, but anyway, he made an invitation to me and I declined, and he brought me home right away. I was living in Wawina at the time, brought me back home, and just days later, they found him in the car out in the gravel pit, way out in the middle of nowhere, north out of Wawina, down a dead-end road. In his car, dead, the car idling, and he asphyxiated himself, and that threw me for a loop. For a long time, I blamed myself on that, because I'd just been with him days before that. But today, I know it ain't my fault. I just didn't understand it. And I don't know, and then during my drinking, there was a couple different times, and that escalated right off the bat in '84 when I started. And a couple different times, due to the depression and all that kind of stuff, and I tried drinking myself to death because of the misery and all that stuff. But fortunately, I didn't succeed. And I'm convinced that's just to share what I got, a few resources I got, and experiences I've been through. And not to do that would be silly. When I was sobering up in 90, I was like everything. I was so reserved and all that. And my counselor, I remember telling me the last 92nd day of treatment before leaving, he said, "Don't be afraid to ask." I always remember that. And then we parted. I went home. I've been doing this recovery thing since, but it's not easy. There's a lot of hiccups in the road, but especially in '06, I was out in Montana. I don't remember the sequence of things, but in just a couple months, like April or May or whatever it was, because I got back here in the middle of the summer. I lost my fiance, my dog, my grandma, my job, and an apartment in just a couple months. I thought I was going to go nuts. Just felt like I was jumping on my skin. Pacing the room with a knife, ready to take myself out of the picture, but some power greater than myself got me to pick up the phone and do what I was supposed to do. Made a phone call. And while they had me on the phone, there was a knock at the door. There was an officer already there within minutes, fortunately, because I think I would have went through with it, because I'm in business. internally, I meant business. To make a long story short, he brought me up and got the help that I needed. I think it was St. Patrick's Hospital in Missoula, Montana, which was like 30, 40 miles north of where I was at. And then after that, I just regrouped and came back here in the middle of '06 and hooked up with Kiesler. Since being here, there's a lot I've learned. You know, I think that's when shortly after that, I started working on my 2-year degree. I have yet to finish that, but I'm only within like 10, 12 credits. But when I was all mixed up in the midst of the turmoil, I couldn't complete nothing. But today I can, as long as I stay focused and do what's in front of me and not jump the gun like I've been known to do. And just the biggest thing for me is to stay plugged in. It's isolation, that kills me. That's when I get the stinking thinking. I get consumed with myself. It's like being on thin ice. So I don't want to take up too much time, but how do I put it? There's hope. I didn't think there was, but there is. And since who would have thought I'd had 31 years of recovery, looking back at my track record in my teens? Not me or my family. My grandma's best friend, she died exactly 13 years to the day after I checked into treatment on May 9th of '90. She was the one that was telling me, you'll be drunk in a month, you'll be drunk in a month. Month after month she said that, and then I don't know how much time passed, but she quit saying that. And I told her out, I said, I'm not doing this for you, I'm doing this for me. This ain't for you. So, and that's important, I believe. Do it for myself because, I don't know, it's just, there's too much to lose. Since doing what I needed to do, you know, I've got my relationship with my biggest brother, my oldest brother, who him and I are doing things all the time. We talk to each other, we go do activities, and we never used to. We butt heads for years, up until like 2 years ago, whatever it was. So the recovery does make a difference. But I don't know, but that's enough on me.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Mark. Just a few facts. I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but about every 11 minutes somebody passes by suicide. And every 12 hours in Minnesota somebody passes by suicide. We lose about 45,000 people in Minnesota every year to suicide. So it gets bigger, but we do have promise in 2020, the COVID year, it actually went down. And I'm not exactly, I don't have the facts why they went down, but maybe it was because people spent more time together, maybe. I'm not sure. But that fact I just got here recently, so. 2019 was the highest ever. And 2020, it really went down, so. Maybe people just loving each other and spending time with each other helps. Listening to each other. That's my biggest thing all the time. I just say the biggest thing when people are struggling is just listen. They're not asking for you to fix them. I don't want nobody to fix me. I'm trying my hardest to do the best I can. I just want people to listen to me. You listen to me, and sooner or later I'm going to figure this out. Either that or my mom will kick my butt, one or the other. But there is a lot of food left, you guys. So I hope you guys are all going to eat some more food. And we got a lot of bakery stuff still for sale too. And if anybody else wants to come up here and talk, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'll leave it to Steve to end it.
Mark, you coming up? You know, it could be a story about, recovery in some way, shape or form. And it's really amazing. It's how many times I hear from people how they've been impacted by someone taking their life at some point. Anyways, I'll let Mark talk.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, my name is Mark. I was born in 1984 in Minneapolis. My father committed suicide in the beginning of '88. And growing up, I could see the depression in my family. I never really had any suicidal ideation myself growing up, but that's, I guess, one thing my father taught me. One thing I learned about suicide was that it takes one person's depression and spreads it to all their loved ones. I grew up having resentment against my father and even my family because I was so young that they didn't tell me when I was 3 years old how he died. And when I found out, I was probably 12, I found out from a neighbor. And so I started to resent my family for not being honest. Of course, a 12-year-old knows everything. Thought I should have been told at 3 for some reason. Grew up with a lot of family that had mental health issues because of my father's suicide. Never learned to ask for help, was always raised, to be a tough guy, never show any emotion, stuff like that. The way I dealt with my grief was to use drugs and alcohol. And I finally was fortunate enough to get sent to Northland Recovery Center here in town. It's part of Northland Counseling. There's some great mental health professionals there as well. They bring us up here to the Kiesler Center, get to talk to Mac. One thing I learned about drugs and alcohol in the sobriety process is it's just a symptom of mental health or unhappiness. It's a symptom, just like depression is a symptom. We're all unhealthy in certain ways, and as long as we have somebody to talk to, mental health professionals to guide us, that we can get better and improve and eventually be happy. I'd just like to thank everybody for coming. Steve putting it on. You guys here at the Wellness Center, it's a great event. I plan on coming back and helping out, so thanks again.
Who's going to grab that mic before he puts it down?
Okay, so one of my roles here is also a certified family peer specialist, and so I have a lot of kiddos, but my 19-year-old has struggled her whole life with different things, but she lives with bipolar disorder, and she's okayed me to tell this story, guys. I asked her before I went to training if I could share her story a little bit, but it's not her story so much I want to share as my story as a mom. My kiddo had 3 suicide attempts, and one of them was really close. She spent some time, spent some time in ICU in Duluth, and we really didn't know what was going to happen. But as a mom, you're like beating yourself up, like, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? I just want to, share with people that the thing that keeps parents and people, loved ones, going during those times is everybody sitting here. You guys are our hope. So our peer support program was my hope. And they might not have even known, but just me coming to work and working alongside them every day, knowing a little bit about their story and that they made it to recovery, they made it to the other side, like they got the help they needed, there is help in our community, is so powerful for family members who have loved ones who have attempted or have ideation even. So I want to let anyone, if you are a loved one of somebody who has had an attempt or lost someone to suicide, know that this is a safe place for you to talk about that too. And there's so much hope in the people that come here and in the people that work here. And it's just, it's really a cool place to be. So, thank you. Who's next? You wanna close it out? And yeah, there's bake sale and food.
Again, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate all you guys coming. Thank you very much.